From a cool motto to intensely poisonous plants. Stay tuned to number 1 to find out 10 amazing facts about Australia. Number 10. Always forward. Every country has its special flags and symbols and coats of arms, and each one has its own symbol that means something truly special about the country, even if you don't recognize it at first. Australia is a perfect example of this. For when you look on the Australian coat of arms, what do you see? You see star symbols and other knickknacks and of course the country's name, but you also see a kangaroo and an emu. Why are they on there? Is it simply because they're two animals most notably associated with the country? Close, but not quite. The reason that they're on there is that they are only capable of moving forward. Think about that. Have you ever seen a kangaroo or an emu run backwards? No, you can't, because it doesn't happen. It was believed to be intentional in regards to them being on the coat of arms, so that it would symbolize that above all things, Australia will not regress to old ways or old habits. They'll move always forward. A rather noble symbol, don't you think? Number 9. Selfie Land. Have you ever questioned how something got made, especially when it's something big, important, or just relevant to the time period? Well, let me ask you, where do you think the selfie got invented? The obvious answer is the United States. The country is obsessed with phones and technology, so it perfectly makes sense for them to have come up with it, right? Wrong. Actually, the people you can blame for this one are the Australians. How or why they decided that this was a good idea is beside the point, because now we have someone to blame. So next time you see some kids doing a selfie and interrupting your day, or when one of your children, nieces, nephews, or parents, heaven forbid, but it can happen, decide to take a selfie with you and you're embarrassed beyond belief, don't blame them, blame the Australians. Do you feel better now? Were you able to vent? Good. Now let's move on. Number 8. Where the people roam. Before we talk about this one, take a moment to like this video and join the Zero to Hero community by using the buttons below. Don't forget to click that little notification bell too, so you can always stay up to date with our newest videos. Okay, I want you to picture Australia. Or better yet, here's a picture of Australia. A nice big continent, don't you think? Alright, now I want you to picture in your mind the people of Australia. Where do you think they live on the continent? Go ahead and plot out all the dots on the map. Here's the thing that will surprise you. Over 85% of all Australians live near the ocean, which technically doesn't mean much when you first think about it. After all, this place is surrounded by the ocean in a way that isn't inaccessible, so why not go to it, right? But that's the trick. For it's just not that they live near the ocean, 85% are within 30 miles of it. 85%! That means that the rest of the population is over 30 miles from any given point from the ocean. Doesn't that seem odd? Well, the answer to this location riddle is actually quite simple. It's called the Outback. Unlike the coastline areas, the Outback is a very harsh place, and not everyone can live there easily. In fact, no major Australian city is in the Outback because they can't get a good supply of water there. It's more of a destination to go when you're on a journey, or you want to see something new, which isn't for most people. Plus, there's a lot of predators out there that many want to avoid. So it's either live near a beach or risk a harsh, deserty land. I think the choice is clear, don't you? Number 7. Camels are pests. Alright, let's talk about animal life now, okay? When you think of Australia, you likely think of kangaroos, emus, koalas, and more. You likely don't think about camels. In fact, you're probably surprised that there are any camels in Australia at all. You probably thought that they were all in Africa or the Middle East, right? Well, Australia, in fact, imported them into the country. Why? Because they needed help making railroads, and they felt that the camel would be a good helper animal for that, and they were. Here's the problem, though. Quite counterintuitively, the camels thrived in Australia. Despite them being imported creatures, their population numbers began to boom, to the extent that they eventually reached 1 million in number. Due to this boom, the Australian government has had to work hard to keep their numbers down, which is harder than you might think, for too much keeping in check often leads to poaching and extinction. They were spending $19 million a year to make sure that the animals were in check, and that was becoming a bit taxing on the economy. So in the end, they decided that the best way to help keep the numbers down was to ship them off to Saudi Arabia. Odd, but effective. Number 6. Don't touch the plant. There are many rules of thumb to adhere to when it comes to going to a brand new country that you've never visited. One of the biggest ones is don't touch the plant and animal life, especially if you don't know what it is, because this could leave you hurt or worse. In Australia, this point is hammered home not just by the dingoes, but also by a plant known as the Gympie Gympie. What is so scary about this plant? Well, it doesn't look like much, but the moment you touch it, you will regret it. For on this plant are tiny little hairs. Hairs you likely won't notice when you're admiring it, but once you touch it, the hairs will stick into your skin and instantly send massive pain through your system via a neurotoxin. Now, being poisoned sucks every time, but this is much different. The poison of this plant is described as being burnt by hot acid and electrocuted at the same time. Not a feeling you want to have. To be clear, this isn't a pain like getting your hand smashed or something like that. These hairs are constantly shooting more and more neurotoxin into your body to cause you more and more pain. Let's just say that the people in Australia know that they should avoid this plant, and now, so do you. Number 5. Depiction of size. Here's a map of the world. I hope I don't have to tell you where Australia is, but here it is just in case. Anyway, when you look at the map of the world, Australia is typically depicted as somewhat smaller despite it being a massive continent, mostly because of its position to other islands and being so far away from other continents, which begs the question, how does Australia compare to other countries in terms of size? Well, it's larger than you might think. When you overlap Australia and the United States, it almost covers all of it. Due to its shape, it's not a complete fit, but it's very close. Australia is around 2,500 miles wide. That's rather big and would obviously take some time to travel from end to end. The only real difference between Australia and the US is population size. The US has well over 300 million people, while Australia has only 23 million, give or take. This is again because of the outback, as only a few people can live there due to resources, and thus the population is more scattered. The United States sort of has this issue too, but not to the extent that Australia does. Number 4. Greek population. Every country, including some of the biggest ones, have massive sections of their population in other countries. It's just how the world works. But for Australia, they actually have the second largest population of Greeks in the world, first being Greece itself, obviously. In fact, they populate the area of Melbourne so much that they even have a Greek precinct. Talk about making a cultural impact. Number 3. The most lethal animal. Alright, we've established that Australia is surrounded by water, right? Well, naturally, those waters are filled with all kinds of animals. Sharks, sea lions, whales, and stuff like that. So which one should you fear the most if you go to Australia? It's not the whales, or the sea lions, or even the sharks. You should fear the jellyfish. More than likely, you already know that jellyfish can be dangerous. They can sting you and they will hurt you. And there are some that can be downright lethal. But in Australia, you see the lethal ones a lot more than you do the non-lethal ones. Every year, more lives are taken by jellyfish than any other species. Number 2. Priorities. Entertainment makes the world a happier place most of the time, and many countries, including the US, the UK, China, Japan, and more, all love their television. But so do the Australians. In fact, they are very dedicated to their shows. Want some proof? Okay, in 2010, a very important debate was going to happen in the race for Prime Minister, the leader of the country. But there was a problem. The MasterChef finale was scheduled to be on the night they wanted to do the debate, and in fact, it was set for the exact same time slot. So what did they do? Easy. They moved the debate so they didn't lose viewers. And I'll bet some of the candidates wanted to watch it as well. Number 1. Emu War. You can't make this stuff up. Let me set the scene. It was after World War I and the Great Depression hit the world, including Australia, which I bet you didn't know. To help curb this, farmers were encouraged to make more crops in exchange for government funding. That they, of course, never received. But the farmers had a problem. As they tried to make more crops, emus showed up. But not just a few emus, or even a few dozen. 20,000 emus descended on their croplands and started to run wild all over them for migration purposes. So the farmers asked the government for help. And their response? We're going to shoot them. All of them. This means war. Now, on the surface, you'd think that a military force with machine guns would beat some emus. But you would be wrong. In fact, the emus were so numerous and fast that they invaded and outran the military's attempts to stop their residing in the area. and eventually the military gave up and went home. That's right, the emus won the war. To be fair, the farmers won in the end via bounty hunting, but by that time everything went back to normal and they used fences to keep the emus out. But for a few years, emus ruled Australia. Have you ever been to Australia? Tell us about your favorite part in the comments below and take care.